Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. This is going to be another Bantam video and we're going to have a look at the exhaust system. And as you know, if you've been following my videos, I've been collecting a few bits and pieces. I've made a piece on the lathe, a link pipe, and we're going to get all that back together and hopefully at the end of the video have a running bike with a leak-free exhaust system. So that is the goal. Hopefully we'll get there. It's now the 23rd of December and 2 days before Christmas, and I'd just like to take this opportunity to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, a happy, safe and prosperous New Year. I hope that the New Year is everything that you hope it will be and that everything works out well for you. Huge thank you to everyone. This has been a great year for the channel. We really started off from scratch just after last Christmas, or just before last Christmas rather, and since then we've sort of amassed 370 something subscribers. So, you know, that's fantastic. It's surpassed my expectations. I didn't think it would do that well at all. So thank you very much indeed. Brand new subscribers, welcome aboard. I hope you're enjoying it. And as always, to my existing subscribers, thank you very much for sticking with me and all the advice and help that I've had along the way. It's been absolutely invaluable. Thank you. Where do we go from here? Hopefully we can continue to grow the channel. I'm going to keep making videos, hopefully of interest and a bit of amusement and maybe a little smattering of learning along the way. I'm certainly learning from you guys. I hope you're picking up the odd hint and tip from me. If we could hit 500 by say February or March, that would be fantastic. And if this time next year we've hit the magic 1,000, that would just be unbelievable. So if you're watching and you're not subscribed, we will never cost you a shilling. Hit the subscribe button. We're not a business. We're just here for fun. We're just here to tinker with old bikes and mess around with machine tools and learn a few things. So yeah, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and if you're an existing subscriber and you know somebody that might enjoy what we do, then please share the channel around. The more the merrier, and we'll see how we get on in 2023. So again, huge thank you to you all. Very much appreciated. I'm enjoying doing this, and I'm going to keep going as long as there's people out there that want to watch and leave those fantastic positive comments. Yeah, I'll keep doing it. So have a great Christmas, and I shall see you very soon. Right, let's get on with the exhaust system. So here we are, we're making this exhaust bracket. I have a bit of gash plate that I found in my scrap bin, which will do the job. And I'm just going to spot through the two holes for mounting to the silencer, and then I'm going to use the whole. I'm not going to make a template. I'm just going to use the whole plate, offer it up to the bike, get the clearances I need, and then I will spot through for the bolt for the footrest bracket, if I can get my words out. So I'm going to give you a bit of a tip for spotting through on sheet metal, and this came from a guy that I worked with a long time ago. I don't know if he's still with us. He taught me an awful lot about my trade, and the first aircraft that he ever worked on in his career was Tiger Moth, and he did anti-det maintenance on Tiger Moths that were still retained on reserve stock in the 50s. And he worked on Mark 9 Spitfires, and he worked on Sunderland flying boats, and he knew a thing or two about sheet metal work. And this drill, actually, this old 1950s Thor, was his, and he gave it to me. So I'm going to use this drill. So I'm going to use his drill and his technique. So and the top tip that I've been alluding to is, if you're going to spot through a part, do no more than that. Just spot through and get the centres, particularly if you want to use this part again, because if you smash straight through, chances are you will elongate these holes. and your centres won't be as accurate as if you just spot. So, you know, you probably get away with it, but if you're going for accurate work, and when you work on an aircraft you want everything to line up and be right, and particularly if you're working in aluminium because it's a lot softer, this is a good technique, and it's the one I always use. So we're just going to spot through and just get the centres. That's given us a centre there. And there. And then we'll pilot those spots, and then we'll open out to our final size, and then you'll find that you get a much more accurate copy, a much more accurate centre distance, and you don't run the risk of buggering up your holes on a part that you could use again. So I'll spot through there, I'll pilot through, take it out to final size, and then we'll go over to the bike, offer this thing up and figure out what this bracket's going to look like. Right, we're looking at the bike, and I'm probably going to get in the way of the camera, but I'm going to point a couple of things out to you. So I've attached this lump of metal to the exhaust, which we're going to make the bracket out of, and I've just temporarily clamped it to the footrest hanger, the rear footrest hanger. I've got the, if you can see this, I've got the silencer and the downpipe at the correct position, the right engagement there. I've drawn a little line on so that I know where to go to. And here I just clamped it on with a pair of long nose mole grips. Now you probably see that there's a huge gap here, so the bracket needs to go on the other side of the footrest hanger, which is how the original was, but I'm just using this setup to gauge how much metal initially to take off, so that I can get you know, a rough idea of where the bracket needs to be. So we're going to chop some metal off and roughly shape the bracket, and then we'll figure out where it needs to be. Here we may have to put a dog leg in it, or perhaps just a spacer. It'd probably be easier to put a spacer in it, and rather than a joggle. And yeah, that should bring the exhaust in. We've got about the right length at the rear of the bike. It sits quite nicely, it's in the right position. So if we bring this bracket in to the other side of the footrest hanger, we'll have the thickness of the footrest hanger plus whatever spacer we need. And the only thing we need to keep an eye on is the clearance here on the footrest, the rider's footrest hanger, and there's a large bolt under here that holds the rider's footrest on. We need to watch out for clearance on that as well. But I think we should be okay. Let me just have a look at the Kickstarter in this position. Well, Kickstarter just fouls exhaust, so if we move it inboard even a fraction, we're going to clear the Kickstarter. So it's just the footrest and the footrest hanger bolt that we need to worry about. So I'll take it off, remove a bit of metal, and then we'll go for another trial fit. Well, I spared you the angle grinding of the excess metal because it's just pretty torturous when you're in here, so it would probably be pretty nasty on camera as well. You're a little bit in the way there, let me just come around you. I've just taken the nasties off. Let me just move you slightly. Do forgive me. There you go. So take the nasties off because they're going to want to embed themselves in us, aren't they? And then we'll fit it back on the exhaust and see if we're in a position to spot through for a hole. I think I'm just going to use a spacer. I don't think I'm going to bother putting a joggle in this bracket to get the distance for what it's worth. I could do it, I could just knock it over in the vise really, but I think I'll just use a spacer. It'll be just as easy. I might even make up a little piece and weld it on. Right, that will do. It's going to need some more work obviously, but we don't want to be slicing ourselves to bits while we're trial fitting it. So let's go back over to the bike and we'll see where we are. Right, how are we looking? Much better, I think, for being inboard the footrest hanger, which is where it was meant to be. That's where the original exhaust mounting was. We've now got a slightly reduced gap here. It doesn't look quite so crazy. It's not sticking out quite so much. I think we can afford to go inboard ever so slightly. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you a bit more involved and get you closer to the action, and then we'll look at the gaps and look at the clearances and see what we've got, make some decisions, and if we're happy with everything, we will spot through the footrest hanger so that we know where the mounting bolt hole is going to go. We can get that drilled, we can shape the bracket, and we can finish this job up. So let me get you in a slightly better position and you can have a look at the gaps with me. Okay, so we're scrabbling around on the floor again, and I think you can see the gap between the silencer and the footrest hanger, and it looks kind of, let me see if I can point to it, it looks here like there's no gap on the camera, but there is, and I'm just going to shove this stack of feeler gauges in. So that's going nicely between the footrest hanger and the exhaust. Should probably tighten it up a bit more because it is moving ever so slightly, but there is a good gap there. What's that? About 1.5 millimeters, a bit more, 1.6 millimeters. So we have got a gap. We could probably drop the exhaust down a little bit to get a slightly bigger gap, but the thing I don't want to do is I don't have a downswept exhaust. I want it to look slightly upswept or level. So let's just check where we are now with regards to the attitude of the exhaust, whether it's, you know, pointing downwards, pointing upwards, or level, and we'll do that with a little spirit level off of the combination set. So let me drag that out and move you around slightly. We'll have a look at that. Right, I've nipped the downpipe at the cylinder barrel with the C-spanner, so that's nipped up, and I've also just given the silencer clamp a little bit of a nip, and that's kind of pulled things a little bit tighter. So we've still got the gap, which is good. I'm just going to put the excuse me, I hope I don't get in the way. I'm just going to put the level on, just see where we are. So we are just about level at that. A little bit down slope, so we could do it coming up a little bit, really, if we've got the room. Yeah, level to a little bit down sloped, which is not ideally what I wanted. I think we've got enough room just to tap the bracket up a little bit, see where we are with the gap. And now you might be thinking, why is he taking so much pains to fit this scabby old silencer? But to be perfectly honest with you, you know, if we can make it as good as we can get it, we've still got plenty of gap there. We're miles away from the footrest hanger bolt. Just chuck that feeler gauge pack in. Oh yeah, that goes in easily. So put the level back on. see where we are. Still think we can afford to go inboard ever so slightly, but we'll do that once we've got the hole drilled. So towards the end cap of the silencer, yeah, that's better. I think that's about right, to be honest with you. I'm just going to go and stand behind the bike. I'll tell you what, I'll bring you with me. And we'll have a look at it. Okay, so we are sighting along the back of the bike now, clearly. You can see that. I don't really need to tell you that. I think that looks alright, to be honest with you. Like I say, it could possibly do with going inboard at a touch. Let me just move you ever so slightly. Inboard a couple of millimetres maybe, but not at the expense of clearance at the footrest, because we don't want a buzzy exhaust if it's touching anything. So I think that we will spot the hole for the mounting bolt at that, and then we can always experiment with different thicknesses of washer, see how it looks. If we don't like it, we can just fit it like it is, and then finish the bracket off, get it looking reasonably nice, give it a coat of black paint, and then we can fit the exhaust, which is obviously another job ticked off the list. Right, well, you're probably getting used to me by now, but I've changed it. I wasn't happy with it. I thought I could get a more upswept look if I just messed around with it a little bit more. So that's what I've done. I've had everything apart again. I've messed around with the clamps. I've moved the downpipe slightly. I've got everything reasonably tight now, so nothing's moving. And I've managed to get, well, not really a couple more degrees, but a little bit more upsweep. Certainly the midsection looks more upswept, which I think is more in keeping with the images of the original D7s that I've got, that I'm basically working from. So we still have a gap here at the rider's footrest. We've got a good gap, and it doesn't touch. It looks as though it's moving a bit. There's a little bit of flex in the bracket, but it doesn't touch. So once we've got this bolted in solid, the clamps on, I mean the silencer clamps on now, so that's why it's not moving. But you know, just a pair of mole grips holding it on at the moment. I think we'll be all right, and we've come up about another 5 millimeters on that bracket there. So that's where we're going to spot the hole. We'll spot it, take it apart, drill it, and we'll be just about there, I think. But yeah, I wasn't happy with it, so I just had to. I couldn't help myself. I had to have a bit more of a play with it, and I'm much more satisfied with it now, I think. So let's get the drill set up and drill a hole, or spot a hole at least. Right, here we go. I've drawn around the bracket location with a paint marker, just so that we can have a reference when we come to finally shaping the bracket. Got some air on the job, and we'll spot through, and then we can dismantle the thing. You can hear a bit of background noise. That's my heater. Absolutely essential at the moment. It is absolutely freezing here in the south of England. So we'll just make it a good spot mark. There we go. That'll do us. And it's just splurted oil all over the place. I've just oiled the drill. Just put a bit of air tool oil through it. It's not been done for a while, and as you can see, the excess is splurging out all over the place. So, but it pays to keep them in good order, doesn't it? Right. I'll work around you. Should disconnect the clamp at the front there. I think we have to put some grease on these clamps, on the threads. Stainless steel, and they feel a bit gauzy, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think there's a very real danger of them seizing up on themselves and being a nightmare in the future. Right, liberated. Let's go back to the bench. I do apologise, lots of stopping and starting on this job, but we are kind of backwards and forwards between the bench and the bike. Right, we're almost to size on the hole. I didn't put you through every sort of drill stage. Thought that might be a bit boring for you, but I'm not sure my little drill will have the minerals to put this 10mm through, but we'll see. Oh, he's done it. Oh, I was going to get a bigger drill, but no, he's managed that one, hasn't he? Brilliant. So we just need to deburr, do a bit of marking out, finish the bracket off. Job's a good one. Well, that's our exhaust bracket pretty much done. I spared you the smiling and filing because I'm guessing you've seen file work before and probably done plenty of it yourselves. That little bit there was where a hole had been filled in by welding. It isn't perfect, but it's good enough. You can't see on the other side either. So there we go. I put this little bend in it to give it some stiffness, a nice generous relief radius. If you are bending metals, don't bend them away from sharp edges because they will crack, particularly aluminium, but steel as well, especially if it's on something that vibrates like a motorbike. A nice generous relief radius, and then polish it all out with abrasive paper afterwards to get rid of the file marks, get all the stress razors out, and you should be alright. But I think that'll do us. We'll get some black paint on there, and we can fit our exhaust system, and that's, as I say, another job ticked off the list. Okay, well, I've given the new bracket a couple of coats of black paint, just a brush finish, certainly within keeping with the rest of the bike. It isn't perfect, but depending on how the light catches it, it looks alright. So we should get that fitted to our silencer, and we should be ready to assemble the exhaust system and get this job finished. Right, here we are with everything we should need to reassemble our exhaust system. Here's our silencer with our new bracket fitted. It's not nipped up, it's just loosely fitted so that we don't have a problem getting our clearances. We'll tighten all that up once we're happy. We've got our clamps, one here and one on the end of the silencer. I've greased up the threads because they are stainless steel, and we don't want them galling together. Extension piece that we made on the lathe, and a new gasket. This is actually a genuine BSA gasket, and you can get pattern ones, but I saw a genuine BSA gasket set and I thought, well, I'll get that. Had to come all the way from America, would you believe? So there we go, genuine gasket. We've got our downpipe and our threaded collar, footrest, which holds the back end together, and then we've got the tools that we need. C-spanner, could do with a slightly larger one, but that's the nearest one I've got. 5/16 Whitworth spanner for the footrest nut, and then a 7/16 AF spanner for our exhaust bracket. And then Johnny come lately, we've got our 10mm socket for driving our clamp nuts, modern clamp nuts, so obviously metric, but shouldn't be an issue, should it really? And then of course 5990, our Loctite And you'll notice I'm wearing gloves because I can't open a tube of sealant without getting it all over me. And in fact, I think if Aid opened up a tube of sealant up there in Staffordshire, I would get it all over me down here in Oxfordshire. So yeah, I'm wearing the gloves. So we'll get everything coated with the sealant, get it assembled to the bike, and we'll go from there. Right, so first of all, I'll get some sealant on the silencer end of the extension piece. We'll get that on there. It looks a little bit like copper slip grease. Obviously it's a silicone and it will set, but that's probably the closest thing I can describe it as. Probably just looks orange on the camera, but yeah, it does have a sort of coppery metallic glint to it. So we'll get that on, spread it around a little bit with the old finger. And better have some towel to wipe my finger with, as I'll be getting it everywhere. Bring the silencer back in. There he is. And we'll get that in there. Okay. The clamp's a little bit tight. Just slacken the clamp off a little bit. There we go. Okay, so we'll just leave the excess on for now. There you go, you can see that there. We'll just leave that on for now because you get quite a bit of pot life with this, and also you can just go around with the methylated spirits at the end and clean it all off. So that's that fitted. We're not going to do the clamp up. And next we shall appreciate you can't see an awful lot at the moment. There we go. Put a little bit of sealant into the mating face. Of the downpipe. And we'll put our gasket in there. That fits nice. So I don't really know bananas with the stuff, but just enough to ensure that we get a seal. There we go. And I think we'll do the rest of the operation over at the bike. I think that'll be the best thing to do. So let me just move you, get you set up so that you can see, and we'll carry on with the rest of the. Okay, so by the amazing power of magnetism, you're now on the side of the parts washer looking at the bike, and I'm absolutely 100% going to get in your way. I'm very sorry about that. There's just not an awful lot I can do about that. I shall try to lean back and get you the views that you need, but let's get this thing together. We've got all our tools, we've got all the bits and pieces that we need. Everything's loose, so we will start at the downpipe. I've already coated the inside of the extension piece with sealant. So that's good. And I haven't forgot to fit the clamp, which is even better. So we'll get our footrest loosely assembled. Can you see that? Can you see the footrest? I think just about, can't you? Yeah. I mean, there's nothing remarkable about it really. You've seen an exhaust go together before, but I thought you'd be interested in seeing it. Okay, so that is hand tight on there. We've already got clearance on our footrest, which is good news. Let me have a quick peer underneath. Take my glasses off because they're no good for close-up work. Oh, excuse my head. Oh yeah, absolutely bags of room between the silencer and the footrest mounting bolt. So straight off the bat, we're looking good. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I think what we'll do is we'll start at the front and we'll work our way back and get everything nipped up, and then we'll have some cure time, and then we'll give it a run, see if we've got any leaks, which hopefully we won't. So excuse me getting in the way of the camera. I'm just going to move over here, tighten up this exhaust ring. Yeah, definitely needed a bigger C-spanner, but we'll do what we can with what we've got. There we go. I think what we'll do is we'll start at the front and we'll work our way back and get everything nipped up. And then we'll have some cure time, and then we'll give it a run, see if we've got any leaks, which hopefully we won't. So excuse me getting in the way of the camera. I'm just going to move over here, tighten up this exhaust ring. Yeah, definitely needed a bigger C-spanner, but we'll do what we can with what we've got. There we go. Let me see if I can just get you a slightly better view. Excuse fingers, as they say. There we go. That's a bit more of an overall view. Right, and speaking of overall views, I'm going to get in there with my overall on. I'm just going to turn these clamps around, which was a piece of advice my brother gave me. He said, why don't you turn the clamps around and they'll be less unsightly because the nuts will be out of the way. So that's what I'm going to do. It's a darn smart piece of advice. So thank you, Carl. And again, you're probably getting an excellent view of my head. I'll tell you what, I need to reposition that, because if I go any further than that, the thread will be touching the engine casing. So I just need to turn it round ever so slightly. That's better. That's much better. These are the little things you find, aren't they, when you're doing a job. It all works great on paper, but when you get in there, start doing it, you discover these little tweaks. Okay, so let's get the front one done. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a little fillet of sealant in those gaps. Just to be 100% sure we get a good seal. And so we can wipe any excess off with a spirit moistened rag or a piece of tissue. There we go. That ought to do the trick. And you're all shouting, why don't you get a motorbike lift? What are you doing crawling around on the floor at your time of life? Well, I think it might be an addition to this workshop at some point. It'll have to be one of those super slimline ones that don't take up a lot of room. There we go. Just give my fingers a wipe and we'll get that one nipped up. And Bob, as they say, will be your uncle. Or at least your auntie's living lover. Right, let's get that round there, similar position. What was that? Interesting. Not happy with that clamp. Okay, let me investigate that clamp because I think there might be something wrong with it. 1 second, I will bring you back. Well, that was a bit of a concern. I thought that the clamp was out of range and it wouldn't tighten up, but it wasn't. It shouldn't have been because I bought the right clamps, but as it turns out, the clamp that I had fitted was actually tightening up before the thread had run its course. So there was something wrong, I think, in the female portion of the thread, a burr or something in there. So I had to whip it all off and start again and just put a new clamp on. So we're back to where we started. I say I bought 4 of these clamps, so you know I had a couple of spares, and it looks a bit of a mess at the moment with sealant everywhere, but it's going to clean up nicely. The 2 bits of thread I think need nipping off at the back there because they stick out. I think just for aesthetics we'll nip those off. But I think that the extension piece blends in quite nicely. It doesn't look out of place really, so yeah, I'm quite happy with it. So anyway, let's get the footrest tightened up, get the exhaust bracket bolts on the silencer tightened up, and then we'll give it a bit of a clean, leave it to cure, and start it up, see if we've got any leaks. So let's do that now. Get this thing tightened up on the footrest. Can I get a ring spanner on it? Just. Okay, that's nice and firm. these two down here. And then the exhaust system should not have to come off again, because even if we have to take the swing arm out or do anything like that, there's plenty of room to do it on the Bantam. So that's quite good. Get the back wheel out without taking the exhaust off. Yeah, pretty good. Okay, won't overdo it, won't snap things. All right, nice and solid. I'm just going to try something with that, with the exhaust threaded sleeve, and I think this will work. This is an ER32 collet spanner, and it appears to make reasonably good BSA exhaust spanner. There we go, that's nice and tight. So put some fresh gloves on. I'll get you a better view in a moment, get you a bit further back so that we can look at it as a whole and see what you think. Let's just get a little bit of the old purple magic. Clean off some of the excess sealant, a little bit more, and this is just your ordinary methylated spirits. There we go, much better. So I'll get the camera moved, we'll have a look at the overall view. Well, there it is in all its glory. I've moved the camera now. It's actually been a few hours. I went away and did a few other things, let the silicone dry, and it has now cured, so I think it's time to give it a go and see if we've got any leaks. I don't think it looks half bad. To say it's not the exactly right silencer, I think it looks okay, and I've leafed through my various books on BSA Bantams, and I think we've got the angle of the exhaust about right, possibly a little low if anything, but yeah, I think it's passable, and the link pipe at the front certainly seems to blend in and look okay. So there's only one thing to do really, that's start it up and have a feel around, see if we can feel any exhaust gas coming out. Obviously it's going to need a more exhaustive test and get it hot, everything expands, and we'll see if it's got leaks, but I think just for now we'll do a quick leak check, and if it isn't blowing we'll call it a win. So do excuse me, I'm going to get in your way again, but I do obviously have to stand next to it to kickstart it, so let's have a go. So I'll just turn the fuel on, put it up to reserve because it's not got much petrol in it, and we shall tickle the carburetor and get petrol all over ourselves, but that's just the way it is. Close the choke. run for a while. Not going to run it for too long because obviously we're in a closed garage and it's now dark outside, so no point pushing it outside. I'll just have a feel around now and see if I can pick up any leaks. Well, I couldn't feel anything. A bit smoky in here now. Yeah, I couldn't feel anything at all, apart from the heat from the downpipe when I put my hand on it, but there you go, that's par for the course. I think we're going to call that a success. So that's the exhaust done. Hopefully it won't have to come back off again. The rest of the bike we can kind of work around it. And yeah, we'll close out this video. So I'd just like to reiterate my message from the introduction and just wish you all a very Merry Christmas, a very Happy New Year, and yeah, here's to 2023. I hope it works out for all of you, and I shall see you soon. Bye for now.